welcome to Last Call with Tipsy Titles. Alright, so what do you feel initially drew Eva and Shane together when they were teenagers? We'll start with you, Tiffany.
So I think that it was their trauma that initially drew them together. Like, there is this such thing called trauma bond. And so I think it was the fact that they were both hurt and trying to like fill this void that kind of like initially brought them together.
Those were my literal thoughts. I felt like their connection was a trauma bond, and not just as teenagers, like in general. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it was a great love story. I loved every moment of it, but
even as adults,
if we're keeping it all the way funky, like they absolutely, the whole relationship was based off of a trauma bond.
Like her going to like literally search for him, like who looks like the most hurt, lonely person, that is who I'm going to talk to befriend.
Yeah.
And then it just so happened that they both had that trauma in their like background.
Because throughout the course of the book, they only knew each other for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so they're telling each other that they love each other.
I forgot that.
All these things. That, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, through the entire book, they only knew each other for 2 weeks. And the prior week was 15 years ago. So
2 weeks as children.
As children.
I
7 days in June.
Yeah.
They knew each other for 7
7 days.
And they were high and drunk for most of those days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sis almost died.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah, I knew that. We're going to cut this part out. But I knew that. But it just didn't register that it was literally 7 days when they were children. And that's it. And now they're madly in love and been searching for each other all this time.
And right into each other the whole time. Yeah, when I was 15, I remember the niggas I was madly in love with. But that was damn sure not rock my boat.
I want 0 parts. 34, 0 parts.
0 parts.
Okay, we couldn't have. But,
no, we not. We running this hole.
Okay.
What was the next question?
Oh, you got another question?
No,
I think we all pretty much agree with that.
Okay. How has Eva's medical condition impacted her relationships?
I'm a bit confused about the medical condition. Like, I guess it was never named for me.
I think she just suffered from really bad
From
migraines.
really bad migraines.
Like, terrible migraines.
In the environment made her even more sensitive. So if it rained or if it was real hot or real cold, or she had an issue with like temperature control.
So what was the question again?
How has her
medical condition affected her relationships?
And I don't think like the author really elaborated on that enough. I think we knew that she had this disability, and we knew that that was partially the reason why her marriage didn't work. But outside of like her marriage and then her relationship with Shane, we didn't really learn about any other like intimate relationships that she had with another individual on that level.
But I mean, I can imagine that with that type of disability that she needs to be with somebody who definitely sees her for who she is. And I mean, who better than Shane with all that shit that they had in them 7 days, you know? So, I mean, I can see that. I can see it impacting, like, relationships, especially if she's not being transparent. You know, kind of like, definitely not something you gotta reveal on the first date, but as things continue to progress, being able to tell, like, it would just be like if any other kind of like condition, like if you had a mental health condition, right? You suffer from depression or anxiety. At some point, you need to be able to share that with your partner, because it's going to inevitably impact your relationship. Like, sometimes I'm just not gonna want to be bothered, and this is why. Or sometimes I'm not gonna be able to show up in the way that I typically show up, and this is why.
I feel like in the beginning, I do recall like it being touched on very briefly, that she doesn't date, and that's like why her friends were trying to like set her up or something.
Because she
like
doesn't
that.
date, and I feel like her daughter knows she doesn't date.
Right.
Well,
And because after the marriage, she rather just not
Put herself out there in any way. I think that after Shane, she finally kind of found somebody that she thought she might be able to be with, and then it didn't work out, and he let her know straight up, I wanted a wife, not a patient.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably affected her, and then she just pretty much
so hard.
That was very asshole-ish of
focused
him.
all her time on being a mom after that. And I know she said she had to take her daughter out of school and stuff for a while, so that was probably a lot to deal with the child. So she probably really didn't have time to date like how she wanted to. Especially before she got a handle on her condition, because she said it took her years to find like certain medicine or, you know, something to kind of help her. So
Okay. All right. Why do you feel Eva chose the erotica genre to write about of all of these genres?
Because she won't get no ass.
Yeah. What else she gonna do?
I definitely feel like that was her way of getting her sexual frustrations out because
Wait a minute. The opening scene when she was about to die because
How they're vibrating.
Yes.
I kept having to like I had to pause and like reread like what is happening here?
You know what's happening.
But yeah, that is exactly why she chose that. Because she won't get no dick. She needed to like conjure this up in some way.
Yeah, and I think she also wanted to have sex with Shane. That's probably the only way she could have sex
Yes,
with Shane.
I didn't even think about that.
But why, like, okay,
Because she was writing to him, ultimately.
Right, but why does she need to take it as far as to make them vampires and stuff?
That threw me off.
I think she was just into stuff. I think she was just into like, she had an interesting personality in general. You know what I'm saying? I feel like stuff that maybe, I don't want to say average or typical because we are not a monolith, but I personally do not know a lot of Black people who are into vampires and horror movies and things like that. So I think she just took her interest and then made it about her and Shane.
Well,
I can see that happening.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead with you.
Well, she did touch on that kind of when she was speaking with Shane about the characters and what character represented him. I think she chose the vampires and whatnot. Now I can't remember verbatim. I can't remember verbatim what she was saying to him, but it was something about like how the one character never died and they like. So I think
like
there
if they
was a
had
specific.
sex, he would wake up somewhere else or something. It was a lot. It was a lot going on.
So what I think is that like she wanted to, or like those 7 days kind of like felt like a fantasy. So she was like using those characters to kind of like, what are fantasy characters called? Whatever the fuck they call, like fantasy characters to be able to kind of like recreate this chaotic fucking 7 days. That's what I think. That's what I think.
It was definitely chaotic.
All they were doing was having sex again.
He left to like beat somebody's ass, the mother's boyfriend. Like it was a wild 7 days.
I'm like, I don't know.
Y'all were doing like crack cocaine and
heroin and
all kinds of wild shit.
My nigga was waking up to drinking alcohol on his nightstand.
he had to.
Yeah.
The little Asian girl knew.
He was going through withdrawal.
Who chill?
All right, so Shane is a more serious writer. Why was writing novels the right career path for the both of them?
I feel like writing is very therapeutic, right? Like it's cathartic and it allows you the space to be able to like be as creative as you want, to be able to like to in their like lives to be able to recreate those traumatic experiences and kind of make it
How they want it to be.
Yeah. Like be able to just retell stories of their lives that it's something to control, right? Because they didn't have a lot to control in their lives, and so they can control these stories. They can control the characters, control the narratives. So I think that's why they chose to be writers.
My sentiments exactly.
Yeah, and they really didn't talk that much either. They were very introverted, and so I think that was also another way for them to just be able to express themselves. That's an outlet because they both don't talk. So.
And because Shane was drunk all the time.
True. True, and her head was hurting all the time. So.
It's not nothing to laugh at, but I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, a fact is a fact.
Call a spade a spade.
Oh man. Alright, so let's discuss how their best-selling novels feature characters inspired by each other. What does that say about the fated week together as teenagers?
Faded. They was faded.
I mean, this was faded like F-A-T-E-D.
Oh.
But yes, they were
Faded.
faded.
I definitely thought it was like, oh, they was faded all week. Like, yes, they were.
Fated. Excuse me. But yes, faded as well. They're faded week. So what does the characters that they chose to represent one another like say about their experiences for that week?
I mean, that just shows how impactful they were. Like, you meet somebody in high school, y'all spend 7 days with each other, and then you spend the rest of your adulthood writing about this person that you only knew for 7 days.
But you know what? For us, it was only 7 days. But for two people who have never felt seen and who have never felt like understood by anybody else, I could see how those 7 days were impactful. Because it's like, damn, no, if I feel like, if I've had this experience one time and I've never been able to kind of like recreate that or re-experiencing that, then I could see how that can kind of like make this big imprint on my life.
And then if that's the only person that they've ever, had that kind of connection with or felt that kind of understanding with, I definitely understand how they could hold on to that for all of those years.
I disagree to a certain extent. Like, I agree that, the type of connection that they were able to build with one another, given their past experiences and what they were going through, I could see how they could connect to one another. I could see how that would leave a lasting impact on their lives. But to go through your whole life still thinking about this person, still being in love with this person, still wanting to be with this person, like, several years later, that just seems a little extreme to me. And again, it's probably because I haven't had those type of traumatic experiences, so I do understand that, but at the same time, it just seems like a bit much. Like, yes, that's someone I would never forget, but is this someone that I'm going to be basically putting my whole life on hold for? Like, I don't think so.
Were they putting their lives on hold though?
I don't think they were like intentionally putting their lives on hold. I think Shane knew that he had some like repairs to make, which kind of
just got sober,
put him into like, okay, let me find Eva. But I don't think she was intentionally waiting on him. But I think that that was what, when she was 17, they met when they were 17. She released her first book when she was 19. 2 years later, that's not a lot of time. That's kind of fresh. And so if I'm reading that book and like some of those parts speak to me, then like that might be enough to keep me going. Like, oh, she's talking about me. Or vice versa. Like, whenever, I don't think they talked a lot about when he released his first book, but still, like, I could see how. So what it was, it probably wasn't their personal experiences that kept them tied, but like their book characters that kind of like kept them enticed and entangled.
That makes
one
sense.
another.
Because imagine if they didn't write, then how?
Yeah, then it would have been like, it would have just dissipated.
Yeah.
But the characters is probably what kept them.
I mean, I think on her end it was a little less weighty, but on his end, like, he even said, like, I knew I couldn't come back to you until I had got my shit together. So once he got his shit together, he went back to her.
Yeah, but we also have to remember that he was an alcoholic, right?
And he spent some time in jail.
Right. So
that was heavily based on her.
Exactly.
She was the reason why he was in jail. So a lot of his life kind of like
revolved around
her. I'm in jail for these amount of years. I don't know if they said like 6 or something. I don't remember. But he was in jail for that amount of time. And hell, what else to think about every day in jail other than why the fuck am I in jail? And now, like, I'm out of jail and I'm trying to like no longer think about why I'm not in jail no more. But you are still and especially if we go back to my thought of like, I've never felt seen or heard or understood by anybody but you. Then I can kind of like, so now I'm writing stories about you, and I just see how the cycle continues and continues.
Okay. But do we think like she was more drawn to him because, again, we didn't know about any relationship she had besides the one she had with her husband? So was he just kind of like, he reappeared and he was there, and she was like, oh yeah, I remember what we had. Like, well, yeah, let's do this.
I feel like he was kept alive for her through the character. Mm-hmm. Like the character that she created when she was 19, which turned into a series, right? Yeah. So now she
15 fucking books.
Right. So now she has to continuously write about said character that is based off of said person. It's hard to forget that. So although she may not be sitting around waiting, but she is essentially writing to him for all of these years. So she's not waiting like physically, like it's not blatant, you know. Mm-hmm. But clearly there's still something there because she knows, like she's putting little hints and stuff in these books for him. That's all I'm saying. So I feel like they were waiting.
Britt is such a logical thinker that like it's just not 1 + 1 not equaling 2 in this situation. So
this was just outlandish.
You know what? I feel like if she didn't have them headaches, I think she would have been able to.
I do understand it.
I think it was a trauma.
I think because she tried to move on. She got a husband. She had a baby.
And he didn't truly.
He didn't understand her.
He didn't understand her. But the thing about it is, she started getting the migraines, and he, like he said, he wanted a wife, not a patient. So who's to say if she didn't have those headaches that they would have still been married? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's part of it too. Her medical condition. She didn't wait for him. She found another man. She had a baby. Mm-hmm. But their head started hurting, and she was like, "Okay, well."
Their head started hurting.
But Shane understood that.
But she didn't give anybody else a chance to understand that. It failed the first time, and she didn't try again with anybody else. And then he popped back up, and he understands. So I'm just gonna go with him.
And also, I think the way they ended too was just like it was abrupt. So she thought that he left her. She thought
felt unfinished.
She thought that he left her.
Oh yeah, because honestly, people married their high school sweethearts. People marry their high school sweetheart.
That's crazy.
I for sure wouldn't, but people do.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. How long? We put together how long?
People marry their high school sweethearts, but not ones that they known for 7 days.
True.
Okay, but true.
Touche. All right. So let's move on.
Even Shane unexpectedly reconnected as adults, and it's not long until they pick up where they left off. Overall, what are your thoughts on their romantic relationship and why they are so connected? So, overall, how do you feel about their romantic relationship and how they reconnected? How do you feel? I'll save that question. Go ahead.
I don't know. I was kind of like, I was a little bit frustrated. A little bit of my Brit side was like, this is fucking outlandish.
Getting less.
Like you only knew this nigga for 7 days, but it was still giving me all the feels. Like just the way that they understood each other, and I feel like that is everybody's desire to be like so seen, so heard. And they did that for each other, but it also made me wonder, like, how realistic is this? Like,
it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a true love story. It's great for a book. It'd probably be even great in like a TV show, a movie, a series. But it's also like pretty unrealistic. Like he coming and meeting her daughter like right up front like that. I know it was by accident. But then they just hanging out, like
having conversation.
They connected.
They texting each other.
He made her feel so heard and seen, because even she felt like this bit of isolation with her peers. Like she felt like she was way more mature than them. She had experienced so much. Yeah.
She's a little too grown for me.
Audrey.
She was like, and so he made her too feel like seen
because she was too grown. That's why. That's how he made her feel like that, because she was being too grown. First of all, okay, hold on.
Let's zoom in on Audrey.
Because I want to know, first of all, who asked their mother if they perform sexual acts to get another teacher to come to your school? Ma'am, too grown.
Because she was like, what, 12?
And then you having some man come over to your house to help you prove the point to your 12-year-old daughter?
I wonder though if that's what it's like with that single mom growing up with your daughter dynamic though.
And that was actually one of my questions. I was gonna ask, like, how do you feel about? No, you're fine. I'm glad we're here. Like, how do you feel about their mother-daughter relationship, and why do you feel it is the way that it is?
I mean, because I'm pretty sure that what's her name?
Audrey.
I'm pretty, or is it Audra? Audrey. Okay. I'm pretty sure that Audrey, like, seeing her mom in the pics of whatever disability that she has, and that she has had to grow up faster than usual because she your mama in the bed 23 hours of the 24 hours a day. What they got to do with
asking your mom about her sex life?
I mean, I just feel like that her mom had to be like much more open than we would be with our kids to be able to explain like what's really going on. Like there's a level of like her like childhood that needed to like no longer be innocent to understand what her mom was going through.
And not only that, but like you also have to think about the environment that Audrey was in, like school, peers. It's Audre.
I don't know how Audrey pronounce it.
Audrey,
it's 3 against 1. Sure, let it go.
It sound like Audrey to me. It's
Audrey. Where the A at the end?
Dre. Audre. Audrey.
So that's what you was calling her when you was reading.
Anyway,
she's named after prominent black people.
We have to think about the environment in which she went to school in. She went to a prep school, right? Like she grew up in a really wealthy environment with. Like, let's be real. We've all seen the TV shows.
With a whole bunch of white people.
I didn't even want to take it there, but we've all seen the television shows, and we know how the children in those environments, like those children, they are a little too grown. They talk to their parents crazy. They, it was very much giving Gossip Girl at her school.
Yeah, and Eva felt like she had to overcompensate, kind of like let that shit slide because she spent so many days in the bed.
Right.
And
so how do you feel like Eva's relationship with her mother impacted how she parented her daughter?
Oh, a lot. I know she wanted to be like more open. That might be one of the reasons she didn't even want to date, right? She didn't want to bring no man around because her mama had men in and out the house, being freak leaks.
Well, can you really say that when she let her meet Shane, like on day 2?
That was an accident.
Yeah.
It was an accident, but she went through with it. She didn't have to go through it. They went out and talked before he came in the house. When they went out and talked, he could have just not come back in. But
he could have, but Audrey thought that he... I don't matter what she was selling butt. She was selling butt. It doesn't matter what she felt as a child.
This is what I'm saying. Why are we even having this discussion?
Because she is a single mother overcompensating for the times where she was stuck in the bed and could not.
And I understand that the relationship is different, but at the end of the day, you still need to be a mother and a daughter.
How she know how to be a mother? Her mother won't know.
Exactly. I literally.
She know how to not be her mom.
She was trying to.
She not being her mom, but.
So listen, when you don't have an example of certain things, the proper way, dare I say, I don't, because what's really proper, but if you don't have a good example of how you should be, as a mother or father or friend or whatever, in any aspect, you go through life trying to figure that out for yourself, like what that looks like. So even if you you got your mother, right? Bad mother. You know not to be that, but you still don't know what to be.
Oh, I know.
And that's with any.
Y'all know what popped me in my mouth.
but that's with any relationship. Like I said, friendship, father, mother, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, whatever. You know, you have an example of what you don't want to be, but you still don't know how to be or what you should be doing. So you go through life trying to figure that out.
That's
you know,
and sometimes
the boundaries get a little blurred.
Yeah, and sometimes you unconsciously like emulate the things that you don't want to be because you don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
y'all
times
telling
when I
me
tell
she didn't know that she probably shouldn't be talking about what she's doing in the bedroom with her young daughter?
her mom was
actually doing it. Yeah. So I do feel like it was hard for her to know like what's the boundary or what's the hard stop. Like here's the spectrum, right? Like show like me everything or don't show me nothing at all.
Right.
And I feel like what Eva was trying to do was like, where do I meet in the middle? But she didn't know what the middle was. That's just what I think.
I feel you. We're here.
She should have shut that shit down.
Me and Bray on the side of too grown.
I understand that I understand their dynamic,
Yeah,
and that is great. And I understand how, like, you know, how you grow up will shape how you are as a mother, blah, blah. Like, I get all of that, but I'm not explaining myself to a child. Like, I'm just not doing that to the degree that she did it.
Not sex. Not sex.
But you know, I feel
Like, if she comes to me,
so
she's like,
this is off, like, not really about this book, but I feel like sex is such a taboo and we kind of like pussyfoot around it and we shouldn't. Because if I'm not giving you the information, where else are you getting it from?
And you're probably getting it wrong.
Exactly. So I would rather me have these open conversations with you.
We can talk about it, but you don't need to know what goes on in my bedroom.
We're not about to be talking about
who I'm messing with
to keep yourself in
your
school.
teacher.
Okay, so let's understand sex. We can talk about sex, but what we're not going to be talking about is you think I sold myself to keep you.
So if your daughter come to you and say, this is what I think is happening, how are you going to like combat that?
I'm going to explain that that's not what's happening, but I'm also not going to conjure up some whole thing to bring a man in here to like
I don't need no
I'm not going to create this. And I remember thinking that, reading that, like I'm not about to like bring him in here to kind of like solidify my story. I said what I said, but I think that him popping up because she didn't know homegirl didn't have school that day. I think him popping up was kind of just like, shit, you here? I done invited you here. Like, let's just do this.
Right.
For me, I'd have been like, bruh, I'm sorry. I didn't even know she was gonna be here. Like, my bad. But I mean, shit, he was here.
Yeah. I can see her asking, like, oh, who was that? Like, mama, you look happy, blah, 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 blah. But, like, asking me if I was a prostitute.
But again, that brings me back to let's think about her peer group and stuff like that. Like, think about it. These kids, fuck you, mom. I'm like your mom.
Asking,
fuck you, Susan.
I can see her mom was
go to hell.
Right.
You have to think about that. So when she said that to me it wasn't like, oh, she being grown. It's like, she be around them damn kids too much.
No, I understand that. I'm not mad at her asking. Shit, I grew up a little like beyond my age too. Like, so I get that.
And we went to Butler.
But let's be very clear.
I just don't agree with how her mom chose to deal with it.
So I knew better.
Yeah, that was a little weird to me.
What's the next question? All right, let's move on. Yes, because we've got a few more. Why does Eva not go by Genevieve anymore?
Because it's so fancy.
But why does she really not go by Genevieve?
Because she was given that name by her crazy ass mama and her crazy ass grandma.
She just wanted to separate herself.
She wanted to separate herself from her past. That's what I felt as well. And speaking of her past, why do you think she withheld the truth about her mom from her daughter?
Because who wants to relive that? I do not want to tell my daughter. First of all, I don't want my daughter to go through the same traumatic experiences that I've been through. And in order for her to go through, like, me telling her who her grandmother is, would then expose her to that trauma. Yeah. So let me just, again, like what she did with her writing, let me just rewrite this story to fit the narrative that is easier to live with.
Yeah. I felt like she was shielding her.
She was, and I don't think
from that trauma.
appropriate.
And like Tiffany said, rewriting her past to, fit what she was comfortable with.
Where she would have
Yeah.
wanted, where she probably would have wanted her
I
childhood
mean,
to
it
be
makes
like.
sense. She changed her whole name and reinvented herself. Why would she keep that part of the story the same?
Mm-hmm. So let's switch gears and go back to Shane. Oh, excuse me. Do you think he'll find his voice as a sober writer? Because remember, he wrote all of his novels while drunk. So now he's struggling with like writer's block, but who knows if it's really writer's block? It's just, I'm not drunk anymore.
Right. Like, I don't know if I know how to be an author.
I think he can. It just might take some time. Like, he's still in the whole like healing phase. He's still trying to find out like who he is, like as a sober Shane. Like, and that's even like shown in the book. Like, he's just 2 years sober. Like, he goes to Eva. Like, they're at the award show, the Liddy Awards. And even at that point, he's like, I'm sorry.
Does
like,
he need to be at the Litty Awards?
He's like, I thought I was ready for this, but I'm not ready for this. Like, he's still trying to play mentor to people and blaming himself when things don't go how they're supposed to go. So he's still on a journey. And I think once he gets to that journey, then yeah, he'll find something to write about. I mean, he has great stories. He's a nomad. He's been everywhere. Like, even the little stories he told to Audrey about the turtle. Like, he can make some stuff up.
Do you think the stories that he writes sober will be the same as the ones that, like, do you think he'll write about different things?
Different things.
Yeah, I think he will. Just like Eva will write about something different. I think after their kind of relationship came out, I think they're both going to start writing about different things.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. And speaking of Shane, he left without warning when tragedy struck. Why do you think he didn't tell her what was going on? You think there's a reason?
Yeah.
He said he's not used to people like depending on him, so it didn't even like cross his mind.
Think about
me personally, I would have been pissed, but
yeah.
But
I get that though. I understand. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm not used to me having to like check in and tell people something,
Yeah.
then like he is in like all encompassed by this grief, and Eva is not even like on his radar at this moment because that grief is so like swallowing for him.
He was feeling bad that like he was ignoring his calls and stuff, and then the boy ended up dying. So I could see that he was just kind of like distraught. He felt bad.
Yeah. And of course, he's never been in a position where he had to like think about a child. Like think about another person. So like Eva's looking at it as, you disappointed my child, not just me, but my child too, right? But he's never had to think like that. He's never had to think like that. He's never had to think about another person, another person's feelings. Hell, he's just getting feelings for himself, like he hasn't had feelings. So,
but boy, let me tell you, if I was Eva, whole child have been hot.
And she was.
I would have been pissed.
Like, I'm talking about, I would have had a slap bro the first time I saw him. And then we could talk about an explanation. Then
her head was hurting too bad.
True. Because, like, bro, my daughter, like,
that's where
but she chose to introduce him in that relationship
but too, I was like feeling this sense of like, it's okay. Like he wouldn't have did that. Like him and Audrey made like made this like connection. He wouldn't do that to her. Like I just kept saying like, just know that he wouldn't do that. He would not. Like it had to be something so like.
Because you're hopeful.
Out of this world.
And you want somebody who's not used to being hopeful to be hopeful.
Yeah. But I was just like hoping that.
Hoping.
I just wanted her to know, like, he wouldn't do that. Like, he didn't just disappear because it was too much. Every time she kept saying, like, it was just too much. Like, my daughter, no, it's not too much. Like, that nigga is really, like, going through some shit. Like, he literally just, like...
And we're here, but, I'm also, like, a hopeless romantic.
Yeah.
So, I also was feeling the same way. Like, girl, he wouldn't do that to you, girl. He wouldn't do... suck it up, like feel better, like call him. Like, he's not gonna do that to you. He loves you. Like, yeah.
It was so, he gave me all the feels. I was reading like.
Alright, so I have 2 more questions. Since we're talking about this, why do you feel like it was necessary for them to split up before coming back together? Because you know they split up after he didn't call.
Oh, after the
yeah,
award.
we definitely
I was about to say after the 7 days.
No, the second split up.
Yes.
Why do you feel like that was necessary before they decided to? Because remember at the very end they decided come back together.
Yeah, well, they got
Well,
tricked,
they didn't decide.
Yeah,
Cece
well,
and Audrey
Yeah.
decided.
It was Belinda.
Cece.
Okay, never mind.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was necessary. Like, I mean, I do feel like you can, like, because I feel like healing, because even if you didn't have, like, traumatic experiences, like, even Shane, we all have, like, some shit that we've experienced in life that kind of, like, influence the way we show up in relationships, whether it's intimate relationships or friendships or whatever. And so I feel like healing is a never-ending journey. Like, you never get to this, like, finish line.
Like, I'm healed.
Yeah, like there's always gonna be some shit thrown at you that you're gonna be like, fuck, I gotta deal with this shit too.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that you have to be like this healed person in order to be in a relationship, but I do think there's some things that you need to work through that you can like show up and be able to do the work in a relationship.
Yeah.
And that nigga was 2 years sober. Like,
Yeah,
they had just reconvened. There was some things that they needed to
they had to have
do
that time. He
and
wasn't
work
ready.
through.
That's why he.
It was too
didn't
much
show up.
too fast. They
Yeah.
just needed to slow it down.
Yeah.
It can't be the same whirlwind like it was the first time.
Mhm.
Not
And
17 no more.
They was recreating a whole nother 7 days as adults. Like, it's okay.
Exactly.
It don't have to be 7 days.
And that's
Take a
how
deep
I
breath.
feel. I feel like they were not the same people that they were when they were 17, right?
Mhm.
But in their mind, it felt like it was going to be the same as it
Mhm.
was when they were 17. They got back together and realized like it's more complicated than that, right?
Some work.
We're adults. We have adult lives. We have adult trauma. Like all of these things, right?
Kids.
Right. So it's a different dynamic now. So
Mhm.
in order to be able to successfully like deal with those things, I think it was necessary for them to like split up and like to work on themselves, like work on themselves as adults, right? Like not with my 17-year-old mind, but now I'm thinking with my adult mind. Let me.
Are you the same person? Like,
Yeah.
because literally we was high the whole set. Like, I don't even know you for real.
Mhm.
But did they even really have like a genuine break? Because I mean, they was talking the whole time. But I guess that kind of like reflects slowing down. Like, let's talk. Let's get to know each other. Like,
Right.
where I am in my life, where you are in your life. Like, let's
Yeah.
ease into this opposed to like full blown. You crashed back into my life after 17 years.
It
I
was
see you,
definitely
the next
necessary
day we're
for them
having
to
sex.
learn each other again.
Oh yeah, because they did have sex in the peaceful, calm place.
Mhm.
They weren't even supposed to be having sex in
Out of
there.
line.
But I'm saying,
Lying.
I seen you for the first time in 15
And the
years.
door wasn't locked. Like the
The
door
next
doesn't
day-
lock or anything. Like y'all in here wilding.
Anthony be laying up in here. I'm
They
like,
used to living on the edge.
Yeah.
And you know what?
That was their thing. Like,
Yeah.
how dangerous
You ready to be
ready-
bad.
Yeah. That was their thing.
I'm like, well,
But it still gave me all the feels.
Well, do you think it'll last?
I think so.
It can.
once
hope
they
so.
take that time to kind of like, hopefully, we'll see. Because I mean, he gonna be in New York because he teaching at the little girls' school.
I think it will last. I think that I
just
think
kinda-
that's a big part of like relationships is
Having to
being
get used to each
understood.
other again.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
being
like they showed up.
understood.
They did the work,
Yeah.
and I think they would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are willing to continue to do the work because I don't think the work is ever done.
Absolutely.
So,
Because I don't know who else gonna put up with either one of them. To be real.
that part.
Well, clearly somebody gonna put up with him because apparently he fine. And
Yeah,
And
and
apparently he's
I'm
fine.
feeling
So,
real.
and
Who you think
apparently-
who you think should play him? I was giving real what's my boy name? What's my boy name? The little light skinned boy.
Y'all
But he giving real Michael Ealy vibes.
He does. Michael Ealy with dreads, right? I don't know why I'm getting that like dreadlock.
Yeah. I was like dreads, but I was giving dreads.
Like he would have dreads.
This her fantasy, nigga.
That's why I don't like dreads. Let's be very clear. I do not like hair. Don't do me. Look, but I feel like he should have dreadlocks.
I was not getting
Okay, and I'm pretty sure they did not describe him like that either. I just felt like.
But
he
they're
was
on the
person with
cover of the
dreadlocks.
book. Did y'all notice that?
I just know he got light eyes.
That's them on the book.
Oh, interesting.
Well, let's talk
but yes, he was
Ava DuVernay, and we gone.
Ava, hit us up.
Michael Ealy.
I mean, she could put Kofi in there.
Oh no, I don't like.
He had everything about him for 15 years.
Traumatic experiences.
Listen,
He had everything about him for 15 years.
But I only say Michael Ealy because the eyes.
yes.
Shane that was a very
Put some
prominent
contacts on him.
character in the
This don't give
Vampire.
light skin, nigga.
It was giving me light skin though. So I'm gonna tell y'all what I felt like he looked like.
We already know.
No, besides
That's
the
what you know with
dreads.
dreads.
Besides the dreads, I feel like the dreads were like Sandy Brown, like blonde.
Okay,
He was
so
giving me
like the guy who was
Wait,
insecure.
Yes.
Who? Insecure?
The guy who was insecure.
Yeah, no. But yeah. Shit, what's his name? I like him though. Damn, he was just on an episode of the parking lot with.
I don't remember his real
With
name.
Lene.
Ava, when you are casting for y'all guys, speaking of which, Ava, forget it. Because listen, they already made a series about 7 days. No, that was Black Cake. Cut that part out. So Ava,
Is his name Kenneth?
when y'all are casting,
No.
hit us up.
with a K.
Hit us up for the casting.
His real name? What was
We're
his
gonna
name?
do the
Insecure?
casting.
All I know is Lawrence.
Kendall?
Is his real name
Kendrick?
Kendrick? Kendrick. His name is Kendrick.
His
Yes.
name's Kendrick. Oh.
His name is Kendrick.
I wasn't about to tell y'all though. I don't remember his
I
name.
don't
I felt like he looked like
yeah,
Kendrick.
I can see him.
I don't
I can
know
see
who-
Kendrick.
I can see
What's his
Kendrick.
what was his name in Insecure though?
Who knows?
Nate?
Was it was it Nate?
What's his name?
His real name is Kendrick Sampson, and in it was Nathaniel.
Nathaniel. Oh.
Yeah, I knew his name.
I thought. All I know is Lawrence.
Yeah. Ooh.
All right. So overall, what do we give 7 days in June?
10 out of 10.
Hell no.
Blew it out the water.
Definitely not a 10.
Definitely a 10 for me.
I'll give it an 8.
Britt, what do you give it?
I mean, it can have a 7, I guess. Like, it's just unrealistic. I mean, it is very possible. And I do agree
Nathan.
that, you know, having someone share those same experiences, like, could be a lasting impact, but whatever.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Last Call, and we will see you next month.
See you next month.